A battle broke out between two dormitories, the White Cat's dorm and the Black Dog's dorm. Romeo, as the leader of the Black Dogs, and Juliet, as the leader of the White Cats, both signaled their subordinates to begin the attack. Once the fight started, their followers immediately clashed, striking each other without mercy, while Romeo and Juliet kept their eyes locked on one another. Hazuki tried to help Romeo, but he stopped her because he wanted to defeat Juliet on his own. The duel between the leaders then began. Romeo and Juliet charged forward, attacking each other. Dahlia Academy was a prestigious school where the eastern nation of Tuwa and the western kingdom coexisted, yet the eastern students of the Black Dog's dorm and the western students of the White Cat's dorm were caught in a storm of conflict. When the two leaders were about to fight, Scott asked Juliet to let him take her place, saying that he was willing to protect her with his life. Seeing what he considered an irritating scene, Romeo struck Scott and lifted him up, belittling him and telling him to lock Juliet in her dorm instead. Juliet quickly stepped in to help Scott and threw Romeo aside. She told Romeo that she did not need protection from anyone and urged him to attack her with all his strength. Romeo admitted that he had no intention of attacking a woman as it could hurt his pride. Juliet became annoyed because Romeo kept underestimating her. Suddenly, Anne from the White Cat's prefect group arrived with her team, coming to put an end to the conflict. Anne reminded everyone that the chaos was inappropriate. Romeo immediately rejected her words, refusing to obey a White Cat's prefect. Anne then said she would report Romeo to the Black Dog's prefect. Hearing this, Romeo fell silent, unable to respond. After that, the White Cat's members dispersed. Scott shouted that he swore to defeat Romeo, but Hazuki told him he was nowhere near Romeo's level. Later in the dorm, the Black Dog's students were upset about the prefect's intervention earlier. Prefects held the highest authority over school discipline. The Black Dog's students were confident they could beat the White Cats and placed their hopes on Romeo. At that time, Romeo looked gloomy. Hazuki offered to cheer him up, but her behavior only annoyed the other students. She quickly clarified that she had no inappropriate intentions toward Romeo, but without realizing it, Romeo had already walked away. Romeo was frustrated and unsure what to do. Since grade school, he and Juliet had always been at odds, and their rivalry continued through middle school and into high school. He was frustrated because nothing had changed. The truth was, Romeo had always loved Juliet. He never wanted to fight her and only wanted to make sure she was never hurt by anyone else. He was especially irritated with Scott for so casually saying he would protect Juliet, because those were words Romeo himself had always wanted to say to her. He was sick of the act and unsure how to get Juliet's attention. He wondered if he should just confess his feelings outright. If it worked, it would be amazing, but if it failed, he would never be able to face her again. Meanwhile, Juliet was practicing swordsmanship in the training hall with her friends. She moved so skillfully that her opponent surrendered. Juliet thanked her opponent. Scott handed her a towel and remarked that she was good at humbling men. Juliet admitted she was not that skilled yet. She only wanted the strength to change the world. She said that whenever she spoke about it, people would laugh even though she was serious. For that reason, Juliet did not want to be underestimated, but Romeo always seemed to hold back and treat her lightly. She was so annoying that she accidentally tore Scott's towel. Unexpectedly, Romeo saw this from a distance. He could not hear exactly what Juliet was saying, but he was sure she was upset, which made him feel like he had no chance at all. Suddenly, Romeo noticed grade school students from the Black Dog's dorm being caught by high school students from the White Cat's dorm. Apparently, the younger students had painted graffiti on a door. Juliet asked them why they did it. One of them explained that the White Cat's grade school students had mocked them by calling them weak. A friend of Juliet's pushed the boy for his rude words, causing him to get a nosebleed. Juliet stopped her friend and said that it was true the Black Dog's grade school students were weak. She told them that insulting back was not real revenge because it would not help a friend in trouble. Juliet even dismissed the idea of such retaliation. The boy with the nosebleed grew upset at being underestimated and pushed Juliet. She said that this was what real strength looked like, and it turned out he was capable of doing it. Hearing her words, the boy was moved. Juliet immediately wiped the blood from his nose and told him to go home, warning that she would not go easy on him next time. She even tapped his nose lightly. Juliet's friend wondered why she was acting so soft-hearted. Juliet told them not to let their emotions get stirred up just because of the younger students, since the White Cats had high standards. Romeo realized that it was actually Juliet's nobility that made him like her, and he felt that she should know about his feelings. That meant he needed to gather his courage, and he planned to meet her in secret. Without even realizing it, he ended up walking toward her. Juliet asked what his reason was for being there. Romeo said he did not come to start a fight. He was about to explain his real reason, but found it so hard to say that he blurted out something strange instead, then quickly ran away. At that moment, Juliet admitted she was annoyed because she felt Romeo had once again made a fool of her. Romeo shouted, calling himself a loser. Cantho and Ego saw him and wondered what he had been doing at the gym earlier. Not long after, they saw Juliet come out of the gym. From Mavo's observation, Juliet usually walked back to her dorm alone, and that was the perfect chance for them to defeat the leader of the White Cats. Cantho prepared their masks so their faces would not be recognized. Chizuru was also with them, saying that Romeo's way of dealing with the White Cats was far too slow. Juliet was walking alone toward her dorm when Ego and Cantho followed her from behind, already carrying blunt weapons. When Juliet turned around, they froze up and acted awkwardly. Even though they were wearing masks, she recognized them as Ego and Cantho. Since their cover was blown, they went ahead and attacked. Cantho swung his stick toward her, but she dodged and kicked him back. Ego then came from behind, ready to strike, but Juliet swiftly kicked him down as well. Suddenly, Chizuru sprayed pepper solution into Juliet's eyes. Ego grabbed her, holding her tightly so she could not break free, and Cantho covered her mouth with tape. Juliet had no idea why they were suddenly attacking her. But to Chizuru, this was part of the internation rivalry, and they would do anything for the Black Dogs to win. Chizuru then used a box cutter to slash Juliet's uniform. Just then, Romeo arrived and pulled Juliet away from them. Ego was confused as to why Romeo was rescuing her, while Chizuru said Juliet had stolen their target. Before long, someone was about to pass by, so Chizuru told Ego and Cantho to retreat. Romeo was shocked when he saw Juliet's torn uniform. She opened her eyes, heard his voice, and backed away in fear. He began to wonder if she thought he was the one who attacked her, so he asked her not to misunderstand. Juliet, with tears in her eyes, quickly left. That night, Chizuru, Ego, and Cantho came to Romeo's dorm to ask what he had done earlier. They wanted to talk outside, but without a word, Romeo immediately struck all three of them, furious that they had caused him what felt like a personal disaster. He thought about going to Juliet's dorm to explain the misunderstanding, but figured it would be pointless. Suddenly, an arrow flew past and struck near Chizuru's head. It carried a letter from Juliet asking Romeo to meet her at the fountain in the central plaza right away. Romeo went there and found Juliet already waiting, holding a sword. He was certain she wanted to challenge him. Juliet asked whether he had attacked her earlier or saved her. If he had attacked, she would fight him with the sword she carried. If he had saved her, she wanted to know why, since they were supposed to be enemies. The real reason was love, but Romeo could not bring himself to say it because he was not ready, so he decided to lie like he usually did. Juliet said that if he saved her out of pity, that was just as hurtful, because she did not want to be pitied by anyone. She cried, saying she could not stand being seen as weak by him any longer. Romeo began to realize that maybe she had cried earlier because of that. He tried to deny it, but Juliet pointed out that he always held back his attacks against her and avoided fighting, which to her was the same as underestimating her. Since they were kids, Juliet and Romeo had always been at each other's throats, to the point where their teachers often scolded them. All Romeo knew about Persia was that she was the only daughter of a noble family from the Western Kingdom, but in her homeland, titles and wealth were only passed down to men. If things stayed that way, she would lose everything. Romeo eventually understood why Juliet wanted the power to change the world. She wanted the strength to stand on equal ground with men, the intelligence so other nobles wouldn't look down on her, and the influence so no one could ignore her, all to change the laws of their world. Romeo realized he had been ignoring her feelings. His attempts to protect her had only ended up hurting her. Romeo decided he wouldn't hold back anymore. He told Juliet to fight him, and she thanked him before asking him to show his full strength. She had handed him one of her swords. They both got ready to duel, all because of Romeo's hesitation that had wounded her before. As they drew their swords, Romeo suddenly blurted out that he loved her and asked her to be his girlfriend. Juliet's face instantly turned red. Romeo reassured her that he was being serious, but Juliet got annoyed and attacked, thinking he was just messing with her again. Romeo told her he wasn't joking, and that the reason he'd never fought her seriously was because he loved her. He insisted he had never thought of her as weak, but Juliet just couldn't bring herself to trust him yet and kept attacking. They continued clashing until Romeo finally said everything he had been holding in. He would even change the world if that's what it took to stay by her side. Juliet was taken aback and ended up shoving him into a fountain. Walking over to him, she called him an idiot, saying she didn't understand why he was talking like that. She doubted he could pull it off alone, so she said she'd help him. To Romeo's surprise, Juliet agreed to be his girlfriend, but only if he could prove he could change the world. Romeo could hardly believe what he'd heard and asked her to say it again. Overwhelmed, he started crying tears of joy. Koksha, who happened to be there, was shocked too, since Romeo had always thought Juliet hated him. Juliet admitted she had never said she hated him. When Romeo asked if she loved him, Juliet said she didn't know. She told him to keep their relationship a secret. Romeo agreed without hesitation, saying it didn't matter as long as he could be with her. After that, they started dating in secret. The next morning on the way to school, Romeo caught up to her and asked if they could walk together now that they were a couple, but Juliet quickly told him not to talk to her. Romeo was stunned by her reaction. A moment later, Scott and Hasuki arrived to meet their respective leaders, and that's when Romeo realized Juliet had acted that way because other people were nearby.